that language about adding that additional leave type. And then well-being leave includes an employee being eligible for up to 1 day, and that leave is equivalent, the amount of time is equivalent to the way that an employee accrues their normal vacation rate. So 1 day would be equal to whatever your normal vacation accrual is. And again, that will be exactly like personal leave. Everyone will be eligible for that on July 1st, and then after that, it will accrue, clear out, and then you'll get another bank of it on your anniversary date going forward. It does not count towards overtime, and it will not be paid out upon an employee's separation from employment. And that well-being leave can be used for activities supporting the employee's physical, mental, and emotional well-being. The next edition of leave, which is in 6.4.6, is bereavement leave. And for that, we added leave up to 3 consecutive days, again, for permanent full-time employees in the event of death for immediate family member. And employees may be required to give their supervisor documentation for that bereavement leave, and bereavement leave will not count towards hours worked for overtime. The next edition of leave is birthday leave. And this will give employees the opportunity to take their birthday off, and there's not a set time that they have to take it within the month of their birthday, but they can take that anytime throughout the year. And this leave may be used for any reason that an employee may choose to use it for. Again, to schedule that leave, they do have to plan it and give their supervisor at least 1 week notice to request that leave, and it would have to be approved by the department director or that designee. And it also, it does not count towards overtime, and it's not paid out and doesn't have a cash value. And all of these additional leave types were brought forward back in last year around this time. We did a benefit survey, and employees were requesting additional leave types as well. So we listened and wanted to accommodate some of their ask and the feedback that we received from that benefit survey. The last section is revision of 6.4.7, which is service to others leave. And we basically cleared up the language a little bit with regards to how employees can use that leave. And so the language was updated to include that the following guidelines are for City of Raleigh employees who serve as volunteers in 501c3 nonprofit organizations or serve as volunteers at school events. And so school events mean that it can be elementary, middle, or high school. There was a lot of confusion around that, so we wanted to clarify that and bring alignment as well. These are all of the changes that we added to 300-9A to include the revision for language clarification and also the additional leave types that we added. So Human Resources asked the Civil Service Commission to provide any recommendations to the city manager pertaining to this policy.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. Do the commissioners have any questions or comments?
I have a couple of just technical questions, but the main one that I have that's substantive is just, I'd love to understand a little bit more about how additional sick leave is used today prior to the changes. Is it like, I'm sort of reading and it's like kind of a curious, you get, 8.44 hours on your 15th anniversary each month for a year. First of all, my question is, it doesn't say, do they get paid out on that now?
No.
And can they retire early using it?
Previously, yes, that time was counting towards credible service. And basically, it was at certain milestones in your career, you got additional time, which was additional sick leave time at 8, 15, and 25. Based on some changes with the local government retirement system and based on the provisions of General Statute 128-26E, they prescribe the way in which time should be counted going forward as it relates to credible service. And so all of the additional leave time, the way we were previously calculating that, we had to make a change, so all of that time would not count towards credible service in the way that it was previously calculated.
That is really helpful. So is this like a change that's required to comply with a change in state law?
The city is making the decision to sunset the additional sick leave. However, the bank that they have, the time that they have, you can use it for the same way that you use your sick leave. It's just an additional bank of time. So if an employee was to have a catastrophe or something happen, or illness, or a family member they could still use that bank that they have currently on the books.
Got it. But is this, like, could the city keep this? It maybe tweak it with you mentioned a general statute that require, like, this is what I'm trying to understand. Is this required to comply with that statute, or is this a decision, a policy decision?
It's a policy decision, but however, even if we kept the 8, 15, and 25, it would not still count the same way that it currently counted in the past for credible service. So people will have all of this time and not be able to use it in the same manner that it was used previously.
Got it. Thank you.
Just want to follow up on a few questions that the gentleman brought up there. A policy decision, this was reviewed several years ago, and I think that was discussed that we were in compliance around 2017. The city was in compliance 2017, 2018 with the changes where this additional accrued sick leave would count towards retirement. And now that there's been some discussion that we're not in compliance or they're not going to honor it. Is that a state decision or a city?
So I'll let legal, I can start talking about it, but I'll let legal go ahead and turn it over to Alice.
Explain yourself, Alice.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Alice Tejada. I'm a senior associate city attorney with Raleigh, and thank you for your question, Major Haynes. And you are correct. In the past, the city, through the great efforts of Senior Deputy Attorney Kibler, was able to maintain, through an agreement with the state, of being able to use the additional sick leave for creditable purposes for the elder system, and many use that to retire earlier than they otherwise would by just using regular sick leave. In December of last year, the city was notified by the state that perhaps the way that the city was calculating its additional sick leave use towards elders was not in keeping with the statute. And for that reason, several changes were made already to try to give as much benefit to city employees. And I can go into more detail, or we can provide you with the FAQs if you're interested in what changes were made previously already that did not require any policy changes, but more administrative changes that benefited city employees who had accrued significant additional sick leave. But essentially, the additional sick leave now, in essence, has limited value after the legislative change in 2018, which affects the agreement that was previously made with the state, where it didn't protect the additional sick leave if there were to be any future legislative changes. And many employees have accrued this leave only to be unable to use it at this point unless, what we don't want somebody having a catastrophic illness or their family member. That would be the only way that they could use this additional sick leave at this point. So the three new unrestricted leaves and the bereavement leave essentially provide a substantial benefit to employees in an attempt for the city to make up for the fact that they are no longer able to use at least for now, their additional sick leave as creditable service under elders. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. And a follow-up on that, I know that there's some talk about them reviewing, the state legislators reviewing this and going back and forth. I think that's pretty much been in limbo and doesn't have much traction. Has there been any discussion about grandfathering this in, continuing with the people that started with this benefit? Because if you do get injured or let's say you break your leg and you need extensive rehab, it's a good benefit that will not dip into your accrued sick leave that you can use towards retirement, and then you could phase this out with new hires, so you're not changing something midstream or three-quarter stream or the beginning that someone hired on with, knowing that this was a benefit. It may not be able to be used towards retirement, but then you won't dip into your regular sick leave, which can.
So what was done, one of the changes that was made was for those who had used their regular sick leave, there was an administrative change that was made where the additional sick leave was used in lieu of the regular sick leave. So going back, that assisted a substantial number, I believe almost 75% of employees were able to substitute the additional sick leave with the sick leave that they had already used in years prior, so that they now have sick leave that can be credited under ELGERS. So that was one change that was made that was helpful to most people. And then in terms of the current employees who do have a large amount of additional sick leave, they get to keep that additional sick leave, and they are encouraged to use that. So for example, if somebody is out on FMLA for 3 months, they are encouraged to use their additional sick leave and draw from that bank as opposed to their regular sick leave, so that they will have their regular sick leave intact and be able to use it as creditable service under ELGERS.
But no discussion about grandfather and continuing on with it till the people that earn it actually leave or retire.
That would be a policy question, and I would defer to Ms. Jones on that.
Not at this time. There's not conversation about continuing that leave. But however, I will say we have an employee experience group and a public safety collaborative that will be working on this fall about some other alternatives, since we're not able to do anything additional with the additional sick leave as far as swapping it for something else or changing it to make it be able to use in other ways. But so we'll be working with those groups and getting feedback from the organization about what are other ways that we can possibly add some additional things to compensate for this change.
And is it correct, it's grandfathered in the sense that you can still use it as sick leave? You don't lose your 200 hours you've got put away
No, if
there.
you still have it, you still retain what you have. We're not taking anything from you. You just have to use it in the manner for sick leaves. You can still use it in the same way. It still stay on your books. And as Alice was mentioning, we did the swap. So if you were not able to maximize the swap and you still have additional sick leave on the books, you can still continue to keep that, and you will also be able to use it in the same manner that you did previously.
I appreciate that on the swap. That was a very kind thing to do for folks.
And I just had one question about the policy with regard to not being able to cash out when you leave. Is that prior to this, have employees been able to, when they terminate for whatever reason, get cash for their sick leave?
No.
Okay, so that's not a real change.
That's not any change for the sick leave. You're not able to cash that out, so you would not be able to do that for additional, and you wouldn't be able to do it for bereavement. The only thing that you're able to cash out is vacation leave.
I just have 2 questions on this matter. Well, Director Jones, thank you so much for putting in this effort and getting this report together.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. My first question is, I'm looking at this memo, I'm looking at the revisions, and I'm looking at particularly 5.0 and 6.4.5, and it, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like I could get 4 days of just well-being leave if I wanted to.
Correct. You can take it however you want. Personal leave is for you to be able to use in whatever manner that you want for your personal time. So you can use it just like you use vacation. The well-being leave piece is 1 day, but that is for you if you say, hey, I just need a mental health day, I need a break, stressful, whatever the case may be, you can use it for that. Or you can use it if you need to do any type of health screening or anything related to wellness as well.
Okay, so in this regard, like, I guess I'm just a bit confused as to why they're separated out rather than just being put into,
Because
5.0?
employees specifically ask for well-being leave,
Okay.
and that is, I don't know if you followed, there's been a trend. Some people may call it a mental health day. Some people call it a well-being day. Typically, it is tied to you being able to having to do an activity that's surrounded around your wellness. But we also understand that mental health is also a thing, and so giving people that opportunity to be able to use it for those types of days as well.
Okay. And a second question that I have, which might involve some of the legal team as well, but I'm just looking through this leave policy, the revised version as well as the current one, and the only like sort of mentioning of like any sort of like childbirth or parental leave policy is just like in reference to sick leave. Is there any reason why we don't have like a stipulated childbirth or parental leave policy as of right now?
We do have paid parental leave. It's just not outlined in this particular policy. It is more because it is aligned with FMLA. That's where you will see it, but we do have a paid parental leave policy.
Okay, so the childbirth leave that's stipulated in this
yes.
policy would just be in addition to
Correct.
what? Okay, got it. All right, much appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
We just outlined that you can use your sick leave time for that as well after the paid parental leave is exhausted.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I had a question with regard to the bereavement leave policy. And in my prior life as an employment lawyer, I saw people get tripped up a lot over who it applies to. And here I see that you have in the event of the death of an immediate family member. And I've often seen policies that have listed, and I was looking back in your memo and your attachments. Is there a listing somewhere?
There is, and I can provide that with you. I don't have it in front of me, but it is in 300-180 definitions policy.
Okay.
It lists out all of the family members that will count towards the immediate family.
So it does have, for example, like step-parents and
Yes, it does.
fathers-in-law? and
Father,
things-
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fine. Thank you.
Just on that, sorry, it points to 3.3.5 for immediate family, but I don't see it in there. Like, just to your question, I don't, the definition of immediate family is over somewhere else, so it could be worth pointing to that.
Okay.
Just a suggestion.
Okay.
Are there additional questions or observations from the commissioners?
I do if no one else does. They're minor though.
You do?
Just a couple, yeah. On the personal and well-being leave, it doesn't look like employees are required to identify the reason they're taking it. Are they required to? Can the supervisor say, well, why are you taking well-being leave? That means
No,
it.
just like for vacation, we won't have you to say why you need to be on vacation. You can request it, but don't have to give a specific reason as to why.
Got it. Okay. And I don't know if that's typical to say that in the policy that they don't have to, provide a reason or not, but just I noticed it wasn't in there. The other thing was just a technical question on birthday leave. You mentioned they can take it during the month of their birthday, but I don't see that in the language. It looks like they can take it anytime.
No, I said they can take it at any time during the year.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay.
Whether that's in the month or a month later, but they can take it any time during the year.
Got it. So it kind of boils down to 5 days, like
Yes.
3 personal leave, 1 well-being, 1
You could take them
birthday,
all together.
5 days.
Yes.
That's
If you
nice.
get pre-approved for it, you could take them all together.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for answering my questions in your presentation.
Anything else from the commissioners? All right. Is there a recommendation, the commissioners, I guess the next part we need to deal with is whether or not we have recommendations to the city manager about this policy. Are there any recommendations before we pass the torch to the city manager?
I'd still recommend the grandfather clause to keep the extended sick leave.
As I understand that, though, that's not allowed now by the state going forward.
They have strongly recommended that we make changes to our policy.
Is it because of giving it, or how the city gives it the time, like 1 day per month, or is it the number of days?
So there's two different things. So there's the sick leave that we currently have the 1 day per month, and then there's this additional sick leave that we accrue on the 8, 15, and 25. Based on that, if we kept it, as Alice mentioned, it would have little to no value. It will have some value to some people, so I don't want to demean it, but it would not count the same way that people are expecting it to count moving forward, because the calculation, as we mentioned before, is different. But meeting with the local government, they strongly recommended that we make some changes and look at the way that we're doing it. And so since it does not have the same value or the way that it was promoted previously about counting towards that credible service, that was a decision to sunset it, because it doesn't have the same meaning, or will not get people to retirement earlier like it did before, because it could count towards credible service in that matter.
I think it was 261 days, or is it 261 hours that you could, if you didn't use any of it, I think you could accrue. But I'm just thinking of the employees that may get injured, or have back surgery or stuff like that. Then they're going to eat into their sick leave, which will hurt them in a time in which they can retire. If they have that extended sick leave, then they could use that, and then it wouldn't affect their retirement date. So there is, in my opinion, some value to that.
Are you saying, though, that if someone does get injured, that they can dip into that additional leave? It's just
If they have that
still
on the
have it
books,
left.
it's just that going forward, employees at 8, 15, 25 will no longer accrue that time. That stops on June 30th. So whatever is on the books or in your bank, that's what you currently keep. It just will be no more accrual of that on July 1. But I can take that recommendation back to her.
And just to make sure I'm understanding, because grandfathering can mean kind of three different things, right? Like, one is current employees get to use that leave to retire early. That's kind of like blocked.
Yes.
That's like not available.
Yes.
One is current employees who have this leave can still use it. They're just not going to get any more of it. They can do that. That's provided
Correct.
for. And then the third would be, and I don't know if maybe this is what you were saying, would be current employees still get to accrue it. It's just new employees who won't get to accrue it. That's not what's recommended right now.
No.
But sort of just to lay out the three different, I don't know which version of the grandfathering you meant, but I do think like an existing employee who has 200 hours of this leave could get that.
Correct. I was looking, your option 3 is what I was recommending.
So a technical question. So on this matter, just, since I'm not too familiar on the procedure with this, so when they, strongly advise against, enacting sort of option 3 that was laid out, right? And we still choose to go forward with it, what then? I mean, does it get litigated in the courts, or, is there a punishment?
Shahada, do you want to speak to this issue?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Can you repeat the question, please?
So I guess basically, I think Commissioner Haynes has brought up a good point, and I think, I think if we do recommend that, we go forward with this grandfather clause, although the state, I believe, is recommending against it. What are the
Which grandfather clause? Commissioner Rubin listed 3. Are you talking about the third
one.
option?
Yes. Yeah.
Commissioner McCormick, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think this may be simpler than we think. I think the issue here, and I give Charnel and her team credit for trying to address it in a different way, is that the state runs this system. It's not a Raleigh system. Raleigh's a member of this system, so we have to do what they say. And the issue here is, I think Craig and myself both probably were able to use some accumulated sick leave to extend the benefits that we ultimately received when we retired. And I think the issue here is that that's no longer available. And I don't think there's any way, from what I hear, Charnel and maybe Alice has a different opinion, but there doesn't seem to be any way to continue the ability to get credible service.
Okay.
And this is just the way I understand it.
Yes, that's correct. Based on general statutes, that's no longer available.
Okay.
And I don't think I would be doing my job as an advocate for the city if I speculated on any potential litigation, and I certainly wouldn't want to speak on that without, I don't have the authority to speak on that, quite frankly. That's the city attorney's role.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so I guess what I'd like to find out is if there is if the commissioners wish to go ahead and recommend that the city proceed, or that these policies proceed to the city manager. Is there a motion in that regard?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you so much. This is
Thank
very
you.
helpful.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Very organized
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Wait, we have one more. Okay, 1 day, I'm sorry. All right. And Mr. Pacini, I don't think we have any other business today, do we? Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So Oswald doesn't get noticed. So, Mr. Haynes, if you would, please.
So he wasn't sworn in, so his no vote doesn't count.
I was about to say that,
I
but
was wondering if we voted, but
I was about to say that, but we haven't officially adjourned yet. Let me read off this, if you may, please, if you would. Remember from your time on the left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. Do you, Craig E. Haynes, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, and do you solemnly and sincerely swear that and/or affirm that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, and consistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties imposed upon you as a member of the Raleigh Civil Service Commission, according to the best of your skill and ability, and according to law, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
Thank you.
Welcome to the commission.
As you did sign here
And
here.
Chair, I hate
That's
to be a
yours.
stickler about it, but since Major Haynes had not been sworn in, would you mind redoing the vote?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So let's revisit the motion to recommend that this policy go forward. Mr. Lee, would you mind making that motion again?
Yeah, I motion to hereby recommend for approval the recommendation brought before us.
Okay.
As long as we're being sticklers, we need a motion to reconsider,
Okay.
which I will make right now.
I'll second your motion.
All right. All right. All in favor of the motion to reconsider, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
And now, Mr. Lee, would you try again?
Third time's a charm, right? Well, I motion to recommend HR's recommendations for approval.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
All right. All right. I think we're now official, unless there's something else we need to consider. I think we're also finished for the day, Mike. All right. And so this hearing of the Raleigh City Civil Service Commission is hereby adjourned.